A recent Rasmussen poll found that the majority of Americans favor a $15 minimum wage. The likely new governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, wants a $15 minimum wage. Currently in the United States, 6 states have a $10 minimum wage or more. Now, my questions are, how can a business barely eking out a profit or losing money be asked to have that burden of a $15 minimum wage, which nearly doubles the current minimum wage? And wouldn't a $15 minimum wage lead to people being fired, number one, and more under-the-table employment activity where they're going to hire people and not disclose it to the government?
King, this is one of those topics that I could literally talk about for hours. So we'll do the best we can to make it as concise as possible. So this is a major issue in New Jersey as well as around the country. With the upcoming gubernatorial election, this minimum wage issue is going to be on the table. And if Phil Murphy does get elected, and with a Democratic legislature in Trenton, it seems like there's a pretty good chance that New Jersey would essentially double its minimum wage to $15 an hour. Now, when you look at polling, which you mentioned there with Rasmussen, polling is, as we know, not always accurate. It really depends how a question is asked. So if the poll is something like, should people make more money? Well, everybody says yes, of course. So then you have people who are supporting higher wages. But if the question was asked along the lines of, well, if wages get raised and people are going to lose their jobs, do you support it? Well, now maybe not so much. And if you ask the question, would you like to pay $10 a gallon for milk? Then it becomes no. So the way polling questions are asked is really key to the type of answer you get. But it doesn't surprise me that you would have the majority of Americans going along with, hey, I think the minimum wage should be $15 an hour, because they're not thinking of the consequences of something like that. Now, let's break this down. From a business standpoint, particularly a small business, which you mentioned in your question, $15 an hour is not going to be a job-creating policy at all. In fact, it's going to put a lot of small businesses out of business, in my opinion, because they just can't afford to double basically a segment of their payroll. And it's not just that, King. It's not just, hey, anybody who's making $8 an hour now, they're going to $15. Well, the people in that company who are making $10 or $12 or $15, all of them now get a raise. So you have a compression of wages. So it's not just the bottom wage earners. It's the entire workforce that's going to be impacted by this. And when you have, let's say, low-margin businesses like restaurants or grocery stores, they're going to be decimated by this. So what's going to happen? Again, you'll have some businesses go out, but those that survive are going to have to raise their prices. And raising prices causes inflation. So we have to give consideration to all these things, that if we do go to a $15 an hour minimum wage, it is going to have impact beyond what we could probably project today. And let's also not forget, wages go up, so do insurances and taxes. That's another cost. And it's also going to, in my opinion, speed up the businesses who are looking at technology to get rid of or reduce their workforce. So there's no question about businesses are going to be looking for alternatives to replace what will be very expensive wages. The other side of this, King, is the moral issue, and I get that. You look at it and say, people can't support a family on minimum wage. Well, I got news for you. Minimum wage wasn't designed for people to support a family. It was really designed as a starting point. And you start as a low-level earner employee, and you learn, you get trained, and then you move up the ladder to make more money as you become more valuable to a business, to the company. That's what it's about. But I'm going to give you the bottom line here. Let's cut through all the nonsense. This is another government mandate on businesses. This is another short-sighted giveaway. All the implications and consequences are not being considered. And those who are strongly supporting this, I would tell you, they've never had to make a payroll every week for their employees and what it's like to have to scratch and fight to get there, and or they really don't understand economics. So the risk overall, I believe, hyperinflation, job loss, and increased technology to replace employees in the workforce. That's how I see it.